Hi everyone. Thank you so much for attending this virtual talk. I'm gonna make a start now. Can you give me a shout if you can't see the PowerPoint? Should be here. So I'm gonna make a start, I think. So welcome to my talk. It's called From Let Go to Leadership. The beginning of my journey. So that bit's very important because I am still very much at the beginning of my journey, but I'm going to talk through a bit what I've learned so far. So a bit about me. So outside of tech, this is me here. I'm a surfer in England. It's always a bit chilly, but wetsuit technology is pretty good. Plant mum, so I have so many plants. And I'm a creative thinker and doer. So that's kind of an umbrella of, I do a lot of creative things. I do painting, illustrations, love DIY. So a bit of a creative person. Inside of tech related. So what I currently do is I'm a junior software engineer, and I also manage a team of fantastic apprentices and interns at Covéa Digital. I'm going to talk to you a bit about how I got to this position and what I learned along the way. I also do Leeds Frontend. I'm a co-host and co-organizer when we're not in lockdown, so we haven't done any virtual talks. We prefer physical ones, and that's just not possible at the moment. I'm also a tech panelist and speaker, so I've been on a tech panel before, and I have a couple more coming up. And this is my second talk. This is really exciting. And another thing is I am on the leadership and management apprenticeship at Calderdale College. So I recently started that. I'm not too far into that, I think maybe 6 months. I will speak a bit more about that later on in the talk. I've been surrounded by tech for 9 years, including like college, uni, etc. And I have a computing degree. I also have a blog as well, which is techurray.com, as you can see in the top left. So if you're interested in looking at that, go for it. Cool. So what are you going to get out of this talk? So the whole point of this talk was not just to talk about me, because as a typical British person, I just don't like doing that. But hopefully you're going to get some good stuff out of here. So managing your tech expectations. Pretty impressed that I came up with that. It's probably out there, obviously, but managing your tech expectations. So if you went to uni or if you're studying, learning to code, learning anything, I want to explain the shock of doing a computing course at university and then going into industry. It's not kind of a smooth road into that. Dealing with failure, how being let go from a junior role because of lack of experience affected me and what I did to overcome that. I want to talk about interview tips. So I've been on both sides, an interviewer and an interviewee, and what to look out for from a company, like red flags and whatnot. And then finally, personal development and career tips. So how to be the best version of yourself. I've picked a lot of things up so far on my leadership course that I'm doing at the moment, as well as bits and bobs that I've learned from interviews and from starting my career at Covéa. So, do we have anyone here who would class themselves as impatient? I would class as impatient. Yeah, I'm eager, driven, passionate, and by 24, I expected to be a great developer, probably mid to senior with all the experience under my belt. My goal was to have a fancy car and a sweet paycheck by 24. I'm going to talk about my journey and we'll see whether I achieve these goals. So let me give you some background. High school. At high school, I was bullied and I built defensive walls. School's a vicious place, I think. It really teaches you a lot. I wasn't an A-grade student. You could say that I really just didn't like secondary school. I was really into music, so that was kind of the start of my little budding music career at the time. And leading on from this, I ended up going to college because I didn't want to go to sixth form and stay there any longer. I don't know if anyone else has had trauma from school days, or if they were your best years. Who knows? It's always different. So I went to college. Now, I bet you're interested to why we've got this this photo here. I had no idea what I wanted to do, none at all. So I knew my grandparents were involved in technical stuff, but I didn't know what they did, really. I remember I tried to build a HTML site for my music, and my granddad tried to explain SEO, which is search engine optimization, and I just had no idea what was going on. So I was flicking through the prospectus, and I ended up doing IT software development as a BTEC because I thought it sounded really cool. I thought it would help me build a website and finally understand what my granddad was talking about. I ended up loving it, absolutely loving it. I ended up having like the second highest marks in the class, in the year, sorry, and I was heavily encouraged to go to university. So from the lows of high school, this ended up on a pretty good high. So this brings me on to university. I don't want to sound like a millennial student, but it wasn't an easy ride for me, I thought. So I just finished college. I was on a pretty good high. The first year was great. Second year, uni life setting. Now, I don't know if any of you have gone to uni, maybe you have, maybe you haven't. It doesn't matter whether you have or not, but you'll probably know how hard university students party and just get swept up in becoming like a semi-adult. So third year of uni life setting really hard, and I was going out partying way more than I could handle, and I actually entered a slump of depression, and I ended up failing my third year. So going back to those goals at the beginning, how would I be a top developer at 24? How would I get my nice house, my fancy car with all this debt, and then actually no degree? I was given 3 options. So the first option was I could just give up and fail. I could just leave and have a lot of debt. Second option was I could retake the module with no extra debt. Cool, but I was capped at 40%, which is just a pass, ultimately, meaning my other modules of work, which are also affected by my depression, it wouldn't put me on a good footing overall. Third option was I could redo the whole year and pay another year's fees. Ouch. I ended up doing really well in that year-long 1 module, which took me to a 2-1. So everything that went on above, I came out in pretty good shape. So remember these crazy, ridiculous goals I had before? I graduated at 23. So why am I telling you this? This is reality versus expectations. And this is where my expectations versus reality really hit. For me, university created a platform of unrealistic expectations. So tech moves really quick. And how does that relate to uni? Well, fundamentals generally remain the same, but so much has changed now since I was at university as a junior software engineer. Now I'm learning in the same frequency as I did at university. And then that took me onto my first developer job after this. So after I'd realised, this is when I realised that actually there's a lot to learn still. Tech does not stagnate. If you're wanting to get into tech and you just want to learn something and then sit and do that for a couple of years, then tech's not the place, but it's so enriching for knowledge and learning. So this took me onto my first job straight after university. It was a really small telecoms company. I absolutely loved it because it was my first proper job, but I ended up outgrowing it because it was so small. My IT director, who was fantastic, he was my senior, my mentor, and so I ended up staying there a year and a bit. And then after that, I went to kind of a non-dev role. Now, this role was an application support and deployment engineer, but I kind of missed coding. You know, I'd done coding for the first year. That's what I wanted to do. My course was a complete umbrella of topics, and I really enjoyed coding. So I kind of said, right, I'm going to go and find a coding job. But I chose the wrong job. So while I was at this non-technical job, I ended up getting really involved with Leeds tech community because I really just wanted to find a way back in. I was thinking maybe I could do this job because I did enjoy it. It was a really cool job, but I really wanted to do coding stuff, and I wanted to be in, surrounded by coders. Maybe I could do it on my weekends and evenings. So I joined Code First Girls as a voluntary instructor. So I taught my class like HTML, CSS, and Bootstrap specifically. I also ended up joining, taking over Leeds Frontend meetup with a friend because the previous organizer of that had his own business and it was too much to kind of take on. So we restarted that. And then also I joined a community called Junior Hub. So this is great for any other juniors. It's a community on Slack, and we have about, I think it's like 300 junior developers nationwide. There's a few seniors and mids, and it's basically a friendly it's a friendly Stack Overflow. So that was set up by my friend who I run Leeds Frontend with, and it's fantastic to network. So, let's not skip ahead. So this time I wanted to get back into coding, and I was like, right, I need a job. I need a job in coding. I want to do the coding. So what did I do? I jumped straight into a job, and I learned a lot here. It was a mistake. So the first interview tip that I learned was, remember that you're interviewing them as much as they are you. It's often forgotten that you're actually there to suss them out as well as them to suss you out. I know it can be really challenging. You've got to, will they like me? Will they bring a whiteboard out and test me in that interview? Will I be able to find the place? How do I not be awkward when asking for a cup of tea or something like that? You've got so many things going through your head. Maybe you don't have all of those, but maybe some of them. That you just got to remember that actually interviews work both ways. Do they have the right vision that matches your vision, your values? What's their mission? What are the people like? I'm going to get onto that a little bit later. Second interview tip, if your gut is telling you no, listen to it. These are where the red flags pop up. So if your gut's telling you no, don't go for the job, even though you really want to get into coding and this is maybe your only opportunity or your only interview, and you're still not getting a good vibe, don't jump at it. Third, if the company messes you around in the beginning with no explanation, run. What do I mean by this? So it's your company that you're interviewing, right? You get an okay vibe, you're not sure, but they say, oh, sorry, you don't have the job, you're not suitable for the role. And then you get a message from another person in the company saying, oh, we're actually just postponing the role, or maybe they haven't got in contact with you. They said, oh, you can have the job, but actually the complete radio silence until you start. You just got to see how the company treats you, see how they have the processes in place. If they don't, then, and you're not getting a good vibe from it, honestly, run. So I lasted 2 months at a company, this wrong place for me. When I got pulled into the office and I came back from a pre-booked holiday to say, we're just not working out. So firstly, I thought it was a joke. Secondly, it wasn't a joke. Thirdly, I should have listened to my gut. So let me just give you some background. Why didn't this job work out? So I was going for a junior developer job, and I wanted to do PHP, which is a back-end language, and they were like, yeah, because I'd done that in my previous place, and they're like, yeah, you can do that, but you have to be a designer, UX, UI, user interface, user experience, and rebuild the system on CSS, but then after you can do back-end stuff, really. But I didn't realize this until a few weeks into my new job, not at the interview. So another interview tip, a developer's role can differ a huge amount between companies. Get them to tell you exactly what a day as a developer looks like, and if there are any other developers in the company, speak to them. Now, this isn't just for developers, if I'm honest. See what your role looks like. Ask if you can go in for half a day, for free or whatever. Ask if you can speak to people, you know, the other developers in the company, because 9 times out of 10 you're going to be hired by a lead, potentially a lead tech person and a recruiter person. Do they have real insight into the day-to-day job that you're going to be doing? Who knows? Speak to the role that you want to be there. Speak to those to find out. So I'm going to talk a bit about feelings of my feelings of being let go from a junior role because I didn't have enough experience. So after studying for a particular role at college and university, going in as a junior, not having enough experience in the umbrella of things that they wanted, only realizing this into the job, it felt like a punch in the face. Like, what could I do now? Do I have to go back to university? Do I have to do another course? Do I have to do a boot camp? It was really an unsure situation. It was a really unsure time. So what I did is I took a week. I said, right, I'm going to take a week. I'm going to decide what I really want to do. Do I really want to do PHP? Do I really want to work for a small company? Do I want to work for a big company? I updated my CV a little bit, as it was recently updated. I decided to play around with JavaScript and React because it was bubbling in the community. I've been running Leeds Frontend, and JavaScript React was a huge deal and was upcoming. And after talks with other people, mentors, other people in the community, I really wanted to work with people. I thought that was a strength of mine at the time. So what did I do? I approached one of our sponsors at Leeds Frontend and let them know they were a recruitment company. And Sandra, who was the recruiter, she said, I know a fantastic company, and I'm telling you about this not because I know you, not just to get a recruitment point. So I was like, right, I'm not jumping in again. What I'll do is I'll have an interview at a couple of places, not just one, get the vibe, figure out what I want to do after being let go, and then I'll go for it depending on how the interviews go. So using those interview tips that I'd learned before, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I knew exactly what I wanted from a company, and the biggest thing for me was vision. So what's the vision? I knew being a developer or an engineer could be a role of coding, but what was the business doing? More importantly, how did they treat their people through vision? I'm a huge people person. Why should I work here? Will I fit in here? Does this role fit me? And what does my gut say? This is the whole interview tip around you're interviewing them as much as they are you. What really matters to you, and do they have that? So my gut was screaming, this is awesome, for when I joined Covéa, and I listened to it. I joined Covéa Insurance nearly a year ago, actually, which is pretty awesome. So a little bit about Covéa. Who are Covéa? So Covéa Insurance is a huge insurer, originally in France. They insure 1 in every 4 people over there. And they grew to the UK, bought a few small insurers across the country, and they are insurance underwriters for some massive companies, such as John Lewis, RSPCA, RSE, and more. And they're also known by their own brand of Provident Insurance. So when I joined Covéa, the tech department had come out the other side of a huge digital transformation, which was, this was an amazing opportunity to grow with the business, especially as Covéa has a fantastic learning and development team. So this takes me on to some career tips. Number 1, this is Covéa Digital, but the career tips. Number 1, get a mentor. Right, so I got a mentor as soon as I started at Covéa Digital, which, by the way, is the same as Covéa Insurance, but we have a huge digital presence and a huge digital side of the business. So when I joined Covéa Digital, I got a mentor, and for you to get a mentor, you can find them online. Twitter is a huge community. Get on there, find a mentor. There's loads of different initiatives. Libraries do them, and other community groups do them too. Reach out in your network. And just don't pay for a service. You don't pay for mentors. Having a mentor is a great way to establish and achieve your career goals. It helps identify gaps in your knowledge, and your mentor has a wealth of knowledge and experience which can guide your own decisions, as well as preparing you to be a mentor. So there's so many benefits to doing this. So when I started, my mentor said to me, what do you really want to do? So for those who may recognize this or may not, this is a SWOT analysis. So what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are your opportunities? And what are your threats? So for me, I was like, well, I love the people side of tech. Eventually, I want to manage and lead. And a few months down the line, I was pushing for that, and I was given the opportunity to manage at the time 4 apprentices and interns, as their manager had moved on to a bigger squad. Again, it was a great opportunity because they were going through a big tech transformation. And honestly, it's an incredible feeling watching people grow, especially so early in their career. I felt being so close to their experience, I could share my learnings with them and can, which is fantastic. So going on to analysing your weaknesses. So I know I'm a quite passionate person, and I'm also quite an emotional person. So how can I use this as an opportunity to be a strength? Well, it gives me a good footing to have emotional intelligence, one of the key qualities of leadership, and that really works towards my goal of leading. And the threats, so my threat personally was, will I be taken seriously as a junior developer? It's a challenge. What can I do to remove this or improve this situation? And then what opportunities do you have in the workplace? Do you have any learning opportunities? Do you have any one-to-ones coming up that you can ask for different, more experience in something? So if you haven't done a SWOT analysis, I'd highly recommend you look into it. It's literally just called a SWOT analysis. So I just want to talk about my little team, which are a team of 5 now. So really cool stuff that we've done is we didn't recently, actually, it was earlier last year. We went to our high school and taught whole of year 7 to work in agile teams by using Vernie, the robot. Now this robot actually takes about 3 hours to build, and the apprentices built, I think it was about 4 or 5 of them. What we did was we split the year 7 up into groups of, I think it was about 4 or 5, and we did it in Agile. So we, as Covéa and the teachers, were stakeholders. We had the product owners who came to us and said, look, the stakeholders want us to do a figure of 8 around some cones. You had the Scrum Master in the team doing a bit of organising, getting the group together. You had developers who would code, as you can see on the bottom right. It was drag and drop, but brilliant for year 7s. We also had designers, so the apprentices didn't fully build the Lego robot. They left the head out, etc., and there were some other bits. And designers kind of rebuilt the robot, rebuilt the accessories because it can play golf, which is pretty cool. And then we had a tester, the fun part, which make sure the robot worked. So that's what one of the projects that we've done as a group. So as you can see, it's very fun. So as you can see, I had this opportunity of leading and managing these wonderful people, but I had no experience. I was a junior developer, as you all know, because I've just told you my story. So what did I do? I got a coach. Now, during this time, Covéa matched me up with a coach within the business. So they were a technical coach, they were like a business side coach. And by the way, if you don't know the difference between a coach and a mentor, is a coach helps you find the solutions by asking the questions. So it comes from you, whereas a mentor gives you advice. And another thing I was taught by my coach was coach versus counsellor. A coach talks about the things in the future, the problems coming up, how are you going to get to those solutions, whereas a counsellor focuses on the things in the past. One of my goals was to get more experience as a manager and leader. So you guys need to, if you want to progress or reach out for a mentor, for a coach, I would highly recommend doing it. It's really beneficial for your self-development and for your career. And yeah, for you as a person, I think it's really important. I've learned so much, not just technical wise. And this takes me to where I am now. So we have a learning and development department. So I was really fortunate that Covéa had created this course with Calderdale College, along with a load of other businesses in Calderdale, to create an inspiring leaders course. So this is suited for leaders within Calderdale who have management responsibility but little to no experience, the opportunity arose at Covéa to do this course, and it aligned perfectly to my goals and ambitions, both in the company and personally. So alongside 2 others, I jumped at the chance to do the course, which I'm currently doing. So it's an ILM Level 3 accredited qualification, so a leadership and management qualification. So not only does this mean that I'm going to be equipped with the knowledge to lead and give back to Covéa, but I'll get a qualification too. And this leadership course is 18 months, and I will tell you a bit about what I'm studying, but I really think it's helpful to your career and your personal development if you speak to, if your company has a learning development department, just see what's out there. You know, a lot of companies have to give and be involved with apprenticeships. So what can they do for you, and what can you give back to them in result of growing in your knowledge and experience? So my leadership course, I've just said that, it's 18 months, and what I'll be doing is key things for leadership. So building relationships, leading people naturally, decision making. That's a really good one, because it's one of those things that you have to do every single day. About the smallest things to the biggest things. It's really interesting to kind of get behind what's going on with decision making in your own brain. Problem solving. This is not all I'm doing. I'm doing some more stuff, and also that chart is not accurate. It just looks nice. So, final career tip, kind of what I was saying before, but ask what learning opportunities there are for you. What can your company do for you? Because at the end of the day, the more they better you, the more that you are able to bring for them. It works both ways, and it's just, I think it's detrimental to your personal development. So if you're in tech and you don't like learning, then you're in the wrong place. But if you like tech, you like learning, this should be a really exciting thing for you to do. So yeah, I hope you all got some good stuff from this, and pick up some of the things that I've picked up along the way too. And I really hope it helps you. If you want to LinkedIn with me, that's my name. Twitter is Techie Ray. And if you want to find out about the cool stuff we're doing at Covéa, look at the Covéa Digital hashtag or our account now. But yeah, thank you so much for attending this e-talk.
All right, thanks for that, Rachel. I'm going to jump in and just give you a hand with Q&A. So there's a couple of ways you can ask questions for anyone who is wanting to find out more. You can just shout out, get yourself off mute, and just speak up. Or we do have the chat function, so you can type your questions into there and we'll pick them up from there. So yeah, take it away if you've got any questions.
It's really quiet. If anyone has any questions like later on after this, then feel free to like message me or anything like that. Oh, excellent. Let's have a look at this. So, any advice if your company is small and doesn't have a training budget yet? Oh, that's really interesting. I think what's important for what I would find important would be training time. If they can't allocate maybe money for a course, there's loads of free resources online. Can they spare you half a day every 2 weeks to do this training? So that's one way to look at it. Are they allowing you the time if they don't have the budget? That's probably what I'd suggest for that one. What's your favorite programming language? Oh my goodness me. I think I'm gonna have to say JavaScript. I mean, originally it was PHP because I did that first. So I always think like, I've seen so everywhere, people are like, whatever your favorite language is the one that you did first. And it would be PHP, but I really like JavaScript because it's so versatile. And now when I was learning PHP, JavaScript did not do the stuff that it does now, like with React and Node. But it is very versatile. So I would say JavaScript on that one. Awesome. Okay, apart from Twitter, do you know any places to find a mentor Are you on LinkedIn? Because if you're on LinkedIn, there's good mentorship places there. Otherwise, I would get in touch with anyone in your network. So your bosses and people like that. They might be able to recommend you some people. So I would suggest either LinkedIn if you don't have Twitter, or asking around. Okay, training times. Oh yes, yeah, training time. It's really good. Really important that you squeeze that in, and have that regular, and just, you know, say, look, if I learn this, it's a great business case for you. So why not? Paul, when you are hiring new developers, what do you look for? Okay, so I sat in on a few interviews with developers. They were junior developers to get interview experience. So when I was in there, I had my questions, such as what are they like as a person? That was really important to me. Soft skills can't be taught. Development skills definitely can be taught. You know, are they really, you know, are they wanting to throw new ideas at your company or you? Are they wanting to make things better, new ways of working? Are they wanting to learn? That's just so important. Like, if they're not willing to learn, then we don't really, you know, you don't want to, why are you a developer if you don't want to learn? So I'd definitely look out what they're like as a person. What do they do in the spare time? What are their hobbies? My favorite question to ask in interviews would be, if you were a crayon in a crayon box, what color would you be? And there is definitely not a wrong answer to this, but someone I was speaking to not too long ago gave me like the best answer ever, and really backed up why she would be that color, and I thought it was fantastic. It's just really fun and culture kind of based. What are my hobbies? So I mentioned earlier I go surfing. So as I also mentioned, it's very cold, but wetsuit technology is fab. I also do drawing, illustrating, painting. At the moment, I'm doing like a ton of DIY. So I made a planter out of wood. That was fun. I mean, it's not perfect, definitely not perfect, but it's really fun. So yeah, they're my hobbies. Gosh, I feel like I've just chatted on. Is there any other questions? No.
I think there's one. I think someone's typing, so maybe.
Oh, okay.
Give it a sec.
Cool. New message. Oh no, it's not the right mouse. Great job. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I just want to thank everyone for coming here today. This is my second talk, and I kind of love talking or helping people. So I guess it's a nice little mix. But I really hope everyone got something out of today. That was the main thing. Thanks.